Okay. So we're going to start the Gita today. But
Right.
what we are going to start with is chapter 1. One second, that's Smarty. Hello, Sangeeta.
हेलो.
How are you?
बिल्कुल ठीक.
And someone else has joined. I can't see their name. Seema, you're there, right? Seema Soni? Hi,
Yeah,
Gayatri.
hello.
Okay,
I'm
that's
very much
Gayatri.
here. How are you?
Good, good, all good, all good. Okay, so we're just about to get started. So today we are going to start the Gita officially, okay, with chapter 1. But what I wanted to tell you was that the teaching of Bhagwan Krishna starts only in chapter 2. It starts from the 11th verse of chapter 2. The first chapter, about 40 odd verses, and the first 10 verses of chapter 2 are basically setting the context. It's the transition from the Mahabharata story to the Gita. So it describes how Arjun describes the setting of the war. We'll go through it quickly, and then how Arjun goes and says to Krishna Bhagwan, "I want station me in the middle of the two armies," and then he sees Bhishma and Drona and all that, and then suddenly decides, "Oh my God, I can't fight this war." He has an existential crisis. So setting up all that is the first chapter, and the kind of mental process that Arjun goes through when he has this dilemma, should I fight, should I not fight? That all is described very nicely in chapter 1. And that goes on till the first 10 verses of chapter 2. And after that, Krishna Bhagwan starts speaking, and then after that, it's all Gita till the end. So today's topic is going to be this chapter 1 and the first 10 verses of chapter 2. So we'll try to go quickly through this. Two reasons. One, because it is not really the teaching of the Gita. But secondly, because you know all about it, I think. So I think you guys know, you're conversant with the Mahabharata, you're conversant with all this setting of the Gita. So let's jump into it. And then if you need to, we can take more time, but I'm hoping that we will cover this today. So next time we'll be on the actual teaching of the Gita. So I'm going to pull up the actual Gita ke jo shlok hai na, I'll pull that up. So I'll share them with you, and we'll go through them together. Not in Sanskrit. I've got the Sanskrit also, but we'll go through in English because otherwise it will take a long time to go through them in Sanskrit. The actual teaching we'll try to go through in Sanskrit. Okay, so give me a second and I'll try to pull it up and share it. Okay, so you guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Good. Thanks. Okay. Like I said, I will henceforth I'm going to consider silent as assent. Okay. So Gita starts with this very famous first shlok, which is Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmashetre Kurukshetre Samveta Yuyutsavaha Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva Kim Akurvat Sanjaya. So what has happened here is that Sanjay, who's a minister of Dhritarashtra is the dad of the Kauravas. He's a very loyal minister. Dhritarashtra is blind, so he can't fight in the war. But he's very interested to know what's going on in the war. So Bhagwan Krishna gives him a boon. He gives Sanjay a boon. He tells Sanjay, Dhritarashtra wants to know what's happening in the war, so I'm going to give you this divya chakshu. Divya chakshu means magical or, divine glasses and these divine spectacles. With this, when you wear them, you will be able to see what's happening remotely in the war. It's like nowadays we have drones, so with which we can go and see from a distance what is going on. So this is kind of like a drone, which is hovering over the battlefield, and he can see exactly what's happening. He can also hear what's going on, and he can report that to Dhritarashtra.
Right.
So the whole of the Gita is this report by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. That's basically what's happening. So, time to time, you will see the Gita talks about, Krishna Bhagwan is talking as reported by Sanjay. Arjuna is talking, and then sometimes it is Sanjay who's talking, and he's saying, okay, this is what is happening, Dhritarashtra. So it starts with Dhritarashtra talking, okay? And Dhritarashtra says, Sanjay, desiring to fight, what did my people and the Pandavas do assembled at Kurukshetra, the abode of dharma? So this is the literal translation from Sanskrit to English. This translation was done by Swami Dayanand. So he's a great Sanskrit scholar. He used to be. And so this is his translation. Everybody will translate it slightly differently, but it doesn't really matter. We just need any one good translation, authentic translation, and that's fine with us. So this is his translation. So he's asking Sanjay, what's going on? Tell me. So Sanjay says, um, I'm seeing the army of the Pandavas in battle formation, and King Duryodhana, having seen that, is approaching his teacher Drona. Okay, Dronacharya was the teacher, the guru of both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. I think you guys know that. So he taught them all warfare and everything because Pandavas and Kauravas grew up together as brothers, as cousins. So they were very friendly. They used to go to their college and everything together. So, so Dronacharya taught them both. So, and Dronacharya is now on the side of the Kauravas. Although he's a good man, but he felt that it was his duty to protect the king, whoever is the official king. And the official king at that time was Duryodhana, who's a Kaurav. So he was on their side. So Kaurav goes to him and then says to Drona, Acharya, please look at this great army of the sons of Pandu, formed and led by your brilliant disciple Drishtadyumna, the son of Drupada. So this is another. Now there are lots of names here. I myself actually don't know all all the names and all the relationships and so on. But you can easily go through this. He starts introducing his own people to Drona and then starts introducing the Pandav's main people. So he introduces Drishtadyumna, then he introduces the great archers Satyaki, King Drupad, Drishtaketu, Chekitana, all of these guys. And then he introduces Yuddha Manyu, Uttamaujas. These are all warriors in the Kaurav army. They're different kings who've been brought up and they're allies of the Kauravas and they're all gathered together to fight. So this is Gita's way of kind of describing the scene for us, that there are all of these people over there. And then finally he says, Your Honor, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, who's always victorious in war, Ashwathama, Vikarna, etc. All of these guys, I'm just going to go on to the next page, and many other warriors, all experts in warfare, armed with many kinds of weapons, who are all determined to give up their lives for my sake, are present here. So it's all his introduction to his army. And then he says, our army being larger and well protected by Bhisham. Bhisham Pitama is another big figure in the Mahabharata, which you know. He was not literally the grandfather, but he was, with love, he was called Pitamaha. Pitamaha means grandfather. So he was called the grandfather by both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And he didn't have children of his own. There's the whole backstory about why that happens. But anyway, the point is he was an uprightest man, uh, much loved by Arjun in particular, much loved by everybody, but by Arjun in particular. Arjun kind of grew up in his lap. But he too now was fighting for the Kauravas because he too made his choice. Not an easy choice, but he made his choice. He said, at the end of the day, I I will just support my king. That's my job. Whether I like him or not, I will support him. So that was the choice he made. So he was fighting on the Kaurav side. So he's saying our army being larger, well protected by Bhishma, cannot be overwhelmed. Whereas the army of these people in front of us, that is the Pandavas, even even though protected by Bhim is the one of the big, very strong Pandavas, can be overwhelmed. So there's talking about both armies. There's there's for people who want to get into it, there's a lot of nuance here about what he's saying, why he's saying, what is the psychological basis for saying all these things? What does it say about about Duryodhana's state of mind? There's a lot of stuff you can get here. And, Swami Dayanand writes a lot about that too. But I'm purposely not going to get into all of that detail because we don't want to get away from our purpose. Our purpose is to understand this in the context of Gita's teaching. Why is this important for Gita's teaching? So I'm just going to gloss over it quickly. But if any of you is interested, we can talk about it. I can tell you more. You can also read about this stuff, and that is something we can take offline. Okay. Then, after the two armies are introduced and so on, then conches are blown. So, this is to say, okay, he's trying to lay the context. He's saying there was like noise and din. Imagine there are these two huge armies, like filling up the battlefield, and with all great kings and all the great soldiers and everything over there. And now he's saying, huge noise. One of those kings decided to blow his conch. Bhisham picked up and started blowing his conch. Conch होती है ना जो शंख, उसने शंख बजाया. एंड देन उसको सुन के दूसरे ने शंख बजाया, फिर तीसरे ने शंख बजाया, देन कृष्ण ने अपना शंख बजाया, देन अर्जुन ने शंख बजाया. So he's talking, and then people are playing the kettle drums. So he's saying that there was like this noise, cacophony in the situation. On the one hand, you got all these huge armies gathered, emotions are running high, and then there's this noise. Everybody is trying to say, hey, I'll be victorious. They're all kind of trying to express their enthusiasm or their, like, that adrenaline is running high. People are blowing their conches, people are playing kettle drums. The reason why he's doing all this is because of the contrast. He's trying to say that in this environment, in this situation where adrenaline is running high, everything is like on high gear. In this circumstance, Gita was told by Krishna to Arjuna. So he's trying to make sure that we understand the circumstance in which Gita is told. You cannot never imagine, in Gita normally you'd say you'd go to a Gurukul, sit down quietly with the teacher under a tree, into the shade of a tree, and quietly you're listening all these teachings. No, no, not nothing like that. This is being said in the middle of a huge war. So he's trying to set the contrast up for us. Okay. So you can read, I'm going to send all this to you. If you're interested, you can read it. The English translation is very nice. You can easily understand what's being said here, and and so on. Now, now we come to the actual interesting part from a Gita perspective. So now Arjun also blew his conch, and he was also all excited for war. All these guys, the Pandavas, they all said, "We are right. It's the war is the righteous war. We are on the side of dharma. We are going to fight." And Arjun told Krishna Bhagwan. Krishna Bhagwan was Arjun's sarthi. Now that means Krishna Bhagwan was Arjun's charioteer. Now one side diversion here, which I will go into, is if you see all these big guys, all of them like Duryodhan ke saath the, Bhishma, Karna, Drona, all of them, you'd wonder why is Krishna with Arjun? Like, what's going on? Why did Krishna take sides? So what actually happened was that both Arjun and Duryodhan approached Krishna and said, "Fight for us." So Krishna said, "I'm going to give you choices. One of you can take me, just me, and the other can take all my army. And the one who takes me also, I'm telling him, I will not fight. I'm going to stay away from the war. I will give advice, yes, but I will not fight. I'll be an advisor. But my army will fight. So you guys decide who wants what." And almost together, Arjun said, "I want Krishna." And Duryodhan said, "I want your army." So they were both very happy. So Duryodhan got the huge army of Krishna. So he was very happy. He said, "No, this war is in my pocket now." Right? Because he was thinking about it strategically. I've got this weakness, I'll cover it up with this strength, I'll do this. Arjun wasn't. Arjun was saying, Krishna Bhagwan is God, like God. If he's on my side, I'm going to get much more than any number of army can provide. Someone else entering. Okay. So I can't see you guys. Somebody entered, right? So you can just quickly introduce yourself, whoever entered.
Yeah, this is Kanchan. I just
Oh,
came
you
home.
joined. Okay, good, good, Kanchan. We got your
Oh,
message. You said you'll be 15 minutes late.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh,
we are in the middle of the first chapter of Gita, but the teaching has not yet started, so that's just totally fine. We are just describing the situation, the battlefield, which is, you can easily. I'll send you the text that I'm going through on my screen. It's a simple PDF. You can go through it. You'll catch up very fast. Okay.
okay, okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
No, no, no. It's totally fine. Glad you could join. So wait, what was I saying? I was saying, yeah. So Arjun said, no, I just want Krishna Bhagwan, and that's good enough for me. So that's how Krishna became Arjun's Sarthi, charioteer. It was a very, very wise decision by Arjun, and the kind of decision that wins the war. Okay. So Krishna was on Arjun's side. So Arjun now tells Krishna, he says, all these people are gathered. I want to see the people. I want to look them in the eye, the chaps who are going to fight with me. Take me to the middle of the battlefield so that I can see who are these guys who dare to fight the Arjun, the big Arjun. Like he was full of guts and ego and all kinds of enthusiasm because he said, I'm a great warrior who can fight with me, who can survive. So Krishna said, sure. So he took Arjun to the middle of the battlefield. He drove the chariot uh, in the middle of the battlefield. And the phrase he uses in Sanskrit is ubhayor madhya. Ubhayor means between, senayor. So between the two armies, madhye. So he took it in between those two armies. Okay. And and then, not only that, Krishna Bhagwan played a little, not a trick, but he was very smart. He kind of knew what's going to happen and all of that, and he wanted to precipitate a situation. So he took it in front of. He could have placed the chariot anywhere, but he placed it in front of Drona and Bhishma because Drona and Bhishma are Arjun's two big attachments, people that he loves. Bhishma, like I said, is his grandfather. Like his grandfather, he grew up in his lap. He showered all the love to Arjun. So did Drona. Arjun was Dronacharya's favorite pupil. Although all the Kauravas and all the Pandavas and many others learned from Dronacharya, Dronacharya loved Arjun because he found Arjun was the most versatile. He was his best
okay.
pupil. So he put his chariot in front of both of them so that Arjun can see both of them. And Arjun, you can now imagine, he was all agog. He was thinking he'll have a fight. It never struck him, really, that he will have to actually fight Bhisham and Drona. I mean, of course, he knew that. He knew that when the preparations for the war were going on. But at that time, there's all anger at Duryodhana. We'll fight. He's a bad man. He's not giving me anything. He's not giving me my share of the property, and so on and so forth. So there was all this emotion and anger and rush of adrenaline. Now suddenly he sees these two figures, and it strikes him like a hammer. It hits him that, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I cannot win this war till I kill Bhisham and Drona. One of us is going to die. Either Bhisham and Drona are going to die, or I am going to die. Because that is what wars were at that time. None of these are people who were cowards who are going to just retreat and say, okay, you
Ceasefire.
win. They'll fight till death, basically. And he said, good God, I want to win this war, but if I have to win this war, I'm going to have to fight and kill, not just fight, kill my grandfather and my teacher. The two people in this world who I respect most, who I care for most, who are my kind of mentors, who are my father figures, who I look up to, you know, I, I want to, they're my role models. That's what they were for him. So now imagine he's saying, I'll have to kill them. I mean, it's a crazy situation. So he suddenly, now Gita describes very beautifully what happened to Arjun when that happened. Okay. So he says, you can read these yourself. and Arjun is overcome by compassion. So, seeing clearly all the assembled relatives, Kaunteya was seized with deep compassion. So basically, Kaunteya is another name for Arjun. So he says, Arjun said, Krishna, look at these people who are my own people, well stationed in battle positions, desirous to find. My limbs are losing all their strength. My mouth is drying up. My body is trembling. The hair on my body is standing on its end. So, I mean, this is a way of describing. It looks very banal in English, but it looks a little bit more poetic in Sanskrit. It sounds a little more poetic in Sanskrit, but that's the idea anyway. This is what is going on with Arjun. And he says, this my bow and arrow, Gandiv, is slipping from my hand. My skin is burning. I am not able to stand up, and my mind is totally confused. Keshav, that is Krishna, I see bad omens, and I do not see any good in killing one's own people in this battle. Like he's moved like 180 degrees from I want to fight. Who are these guys who are going to stand against me? Don't they know any better? I'm going to kill them all. Show me who they are. Who dare to stand in front of me? To a situation now where he is he has got a like this is actually the description of a panic attack. What he's having and what he's going through is a panic attack, essentially. Because he's shaking, he can't think, he's completely confused, all his resolve is gone. In fact, it describes later, he just gives his bow aside, puts his bow aside and sits down in the chariot. That's what happens to him. Says, I cannot fight. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the rest. And then he starts justifying his position. Remember, all this while, the Pandavas have been justifying why they should go to war. The reason that they should go to war is because Duryodhana is evil. He has taken over their empire. In fact, actually, the fact of the matter is that the Pandavas went to Duryodhana and said, "Okay, don't give us our kingdom. Give us some little bit of the kingdom so that we can live there. A few cities. Give us 5 cities." And Duryodhana said nothing doing because Duryodhana knew last time उसने हस्तिनापुर उनको दिया था. And Pandavas are so industrious that they grew that and became a better empire than Duryodhana. There's a whole story behind it. So Duryodhana said, no, I'm not going to give you 5 villages. Then they said, okay, don't give us 5 villages. Give us one house with 5 rooms. Okay? One room for each. Just give us that. We are okay with that. Duryodhana said, nothing doing. Then they said, okay, give us give us one room with 5 beds. Like give us something, give us anything so we can live in our own country. Why are you banishing us from our own country? Duryodhana said nothing doing. Because Duryodhana had his own reasons. It was not only that Duryodhana was a bad man, it is also because Duryodhana genuinely believed that he was the true owner. Because Dhritarashtra is actually older than Pandu. Pandu is Pandav's dad. Dhritarashtra is the Kaurav's dad. Dhritarashtra is older than Pandu. But he was said, but the kingdom was taken away from Dhritarashtra and given to Pandu because Dhritarashtra was blind. And at that time they said a blind person cannot rule. Second, Pandavas are not actually Pandu's sons. Because Pandu, this is again another backstory, don't want to go too much into it. But Pandu had to take a vow of celibacy in order to live. So it is said that Pandu's wives, Kunti and the other lady, Mandira or something her name is, they they were given children as boons from God. So that means they must have, you know, been inseminated by the gods. So in a way, he's saying these are not, they're like, they're not truly heirs. They are somebody else's children. They're not Pandu's children. So why should they get the kingdom? Which is all true, right? But whatever it is, the point is we decide what is right, what we want to do, and then we justify it. We don't first decide what is right and then we do the right thing against our wishes. We all, in our mind, know what we want to do, and then we make all justifications to show why that is the right way. So that's all been happening in Mahabharata. So far, the justifications that Pandavas were giving for fighting was, hey, uh, Duryodhana is not giving us an inch. We have to live, and he's a terrible guy. He's a dictator. He's horrible. Not a good man. He tried to kill us, so we have to fight. So they were all charged up. Now suddenly, after seeing Bhishma and Drona, Arjuna has started giving reasons why not to fight. So now he's telling Krishna why I should not fight, right? And he provides three reasons. And the first reason is this: why not to fight? He's, all this in Sanskrit, but he's basically saying, Govinda, what is the use of a kingdom or of pleasures or life itself, right? When those for whose sake the kingdom, objects of enjoyment, etc., are desired by us, have assembled in this matter, given up their wealth and lives. So he's saying like, we want all these joys and comforts of life. We want all these pleasures of life. But what do we want them for? We want to enjoy them with people. We want to enjoy them with our friends. That's what we want. Let's say you want a big house. What do you want a big house? It's not just to kind of sit in the big house and feel great. You want a big house because you want to show it off to people. You want to call your friends over. You want to have a lot of space where you can entertain them. You can have a good time. You want to call your children over. Then their children's wives will come and stay with you. There should be enough room. You want a bawarchi who can cook for them. That's why you want a big house. You want all the pleasures so that you can share them with the ones you love. He saw these people in the battlefield and said, all of them, these are the people I love. Maybe not Duryodhan, but the people fighting with Duryodhan are the ones I love. They're all going to die. I'm going to kill them all. What am I going to do with all these pleasures? What am I going to do with the kingdom when all of them, the people I care for, are going to die? So that was his first reason. Arjun, बोलता रहता था, Krishna Bhagwan was just listening quietly. He didn't say anything. He was just listening. He was letting him talk. Okay. So this he gave as his first reason. So he's saying Madhusudan, another name for Krishna, like he's saying here, just to pick up one line, he's saying, even for the sake of ruling over the three worlds, much less for this kingdom on earth, I do not desire to kill these people, even if they are going to kill me. That's what he said, his reason. What kind of satisfaction would there be for us by destroying these sons of Dhritarashtra? Sin alone will come to us by destroying these wrongdoers. Like he was saying, ठीक है वो तो गलत काम कर रहे हैं, हम क्यों गलत काम करें? Why should we kill and murder people? All these now are coming to him after he's seen Drona and Bhishma and realized that he is into a panic. So now all these reasons he's giving. Then he goes on. Even here, Krishna is just listening. Nothing. He doesn't say anything. So then he gives a second reason for not fighting. And the second reason is very interesting. It's a contextual reason for those times. So he's saying, he says, you know, I say, or we say, that we are fighting this war for dharma. That means we want dharma to prevail. We want to kill or end adharma. So for dharma to prevail, we need a family. Dharma starts with families. The dharma is actually taught by parents to children, by the man to his sons. Dharma starts with families. You need proper good families for dharma to prevail. That's how it's understood. What we are going to do now, Krishan, is that we are going to kill all the men folk in the family. All the men of the family are going to go away. They're going to die. So imagine now you're going to be left with a lot of families without a head of the family, without a person who can provide for the family. And women at that time were not working, right? So they couldn't really provide for the family. Women are going to be left on their own. They have to bring up their children. They'll be faced with economic and other necessities, social necessities, and they'll say, my God, we can't work like this. So they will do all kinds of corrupt things. The women are going to get corrupted, not because they want to, but because they are going to be forced, because it's a situation where
Survival.
men have gone. So once the women of the house are corrupted, once they start doing bad things in order to survive, Once they make compromises, they have to go marry again or something like that. When they do these things, then basically dharma is gone from the family. When dharma is gone from the family, dharma is gone from the country. So the result of our fight is going to be adharma, not dharma. We are going to kill dharma by killing the men folk in this country. So this is not the answer, Krishna Bhagwan. We have to find another answer. This is not the answer because we are going to make situations worse, not better. So this was his second reason that he gave. Okay, now all plausible reasons. He's not silly. He's not stupid, but these are plausible reasons. And then after that, Arjun gives up his bow and refuses to fight. He says, "Alas, ready to kill our own people due to greed for a kingdom and its pleasures, we are determined to create a we are going to create a grave sin. It will be better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra with weapons in hand were to kill me, and I be unarmed, and who does not retaliate in this battle. It's better to do that." And Sanjay said, now, this is all Sanjay narrating, right? So Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, having spoken in this manner in the middle of the battlefield, Arjun, whose mind was completely overcome by sorrow, sat down on the seat of the chariot, casting aside his bow and arrows. Okay? This chapter is called Arjun Vishad Yog. Vishad means deep distress, depression, unhappiness, sorrow. That's what Vishad means. So this chapter is called Arjun Vishad Yog. The titles here, all the chapters have end with the title Yog, the term Yog. Yog doesn't only mean the yoga that we know. Here, Yog means the content, the title, the main part of what is being said. That's another meaning for Yog. So it's trying to say that the theme of this chapter is Arjun Vishad. Okay. So now at this stage, Krishna speaks up and he says, Sanjay, um, so Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra to him, who was thus sad and overwhelmed by compassion, whose eyes were filled with tears and showed distress, Madhusudan spoke these words. So Krishna first spoke. He said, Arjun, in, in such crisis, from where has this despair come upon you? It is unbecoming of an upright man and does not add to your fame, nor does it lead you to heaven. Why are you doing these things? Where has this suddenly come upon you? Self pity, this depression, where has it come upon you? Partha, do not yield to unmanliness. This does not befit you. Give up this lowly weakness of heart and get up. So, initially, and we are now into chapter 2. Okay, I told you the first 10 verses of chapter 2. The chapter 2 is called Sankhya Yoga. But the first 10 verses have nothing to do with Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means knowledge. So this is the yoga of knowledge. Um, but we'll just go through the first 10 verses. So, first, notice initially he's not giving Arjun any lecture. He's not talking about Gita and Gita ka gyan and all. Krishna is just saying, get up and fight. What are you doing? He's just trying to pull him up, just like we do, normally. If somebody is down in the dumps, we tell him, "Nahi, nahi, koi baat nahi, yaar, get up. Doesn't matter, it'll be fine." He's becoming a motivational speaker sort of for Arjun. Because Arjun has not asked for the teaching yet. He's just saying, I don't want to fight. Then, in response to this, Arjun gives his third and final reason for not fighting. Okay. And now Arjun says, Madhusudan, how will I in this battle fight with arrows against Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? This is the nub of the matter. This is the heart of the matter. This is what started it. So he's now at least he's admitting it. He's saying, okay, all that chodo us baap sabko, but how can I fight with Bhima and Drona? It would be better indeed to eat food collected from others here in this world than to kill those most revered teachers. If I kill them, the pleasures I would experience in this world would be stained with their blood. Right? I mean, he feels like that. That is generally what he's feeling at that time. He's so overcome. And we do not know which of these two will be better for us. We don't know what is better. That we should conquer them or that they should conquer us. Because if we conquer them, that means we've killed them. Maybe it is better that they conquer us and they kill me, because I can't kill them. I can't get myself to kill them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, after slaying whom we will indeed not like to live, stand facing us to be killed. Overcome by this faint heartedness, confused about my duty, I ask you, please tell me what is truly better for me. I am your student. Please teach me who has been taking refuge in you. He says, continues to say, indeed, I do not see anything that would remove the sorrow that dries up my senses, even if I were to obtain an unrivaled and prosperous kingdom on earth. And Sanjay said, having spoken to Hrishikesh in this manner, Gudakesha Parantapa, that both names were Arjun, said, I shall not fight. Speaking this to Govinda, he became silent. He was done. And then Bharat, Dhritarashtra, to him who was sad in the midst of both armies, Rishikesha, as though smiling, said these words. And from here, Gita starts. Actual Gita starts. Because now, what Krishna Bhagwan is going to tell him is not just exhorting him to say, start fighting, kyo kyo, why are you acting unmanly, and so on. He's actually going to answer his question. Because Arjun said, I am your teacher. I'm your student, Shishya. Please teach me. So he says, okay, now I will teach you. I see that you are really in need of this teaching of Gita. I will give you this teaching of Gita. And that is how Gita starts. So I'm going to stop this. Okay. And let's talk about this. So, firstly, is there any question on what I just, all this we've just gone through right now? Did you understand what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you understand?
Yes. Yes.
Did you understand
Yes.
the dilemma
Yes.
that is being faced by Arjun? Can you understand his position?
Yes. Arjuna is trying to justify his position for not fighting. And this is not correct, because it is his, as a warrior, it is his duty to fight.
Yeah, but before we go there, I want you to understand, what would you do in his place? If you were faced, if you were faced with someone you really love, and
Do
your job
everything
was to
like
fight,
Arjuna.
but for that
Hey,
you have to kill that person.
it's a
What
dilemma,
would you
na?
do? Huh?
To fight or not to
It's a
fight.
dilemma.
It's a dilemma. It's not an easy
Yeah.
dilemma,
Yeah. To fight or not to fight.
right? To fight or not to fight. What would you do? Do you understand what he was faced with?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to kill
But
someone most dear to you. Can you find
yes,
any reason why you do that? Is there
I think because of
anything?
attachment. Because
Yeah,
he was too
attachment. Yes,
attachment.
that's a reason. But I'm saying, but do you think you can actually kill someone who's so close to you? You
I
can
don't
actually
think
kill
it's
people who are
easy.
so close to you because,
Right.
huh?
don't think we can do that.
Right.
I
You
don't
can't do that.
think
It's
so.
not easy. What Arjun was faced was what is called a dharam sankat, an existential crisis.
Mm.
That means a crisis which is where all his teaching, Arjun was a great man. He was a very learned man. He he knew arts, he knew Yog Shastra, he knew weaponry, he knew, like, most accomplished guy, sought after by all the women in the land, sought after by all, loved by all people. He knew everything. He was like an A student, A plus student in everything. You could say like that.
Mm.
Very dynamic, very attractive, very good, very learned. If you were to say who is the star of this nation, of the Pandavas, the star is Arjun. So obviously Arjun is a confident man. He said, I can deal with anything. But nothing that he knew, nothing that he prepared for, all the teaching, everything was of no use in this situation. He did not know what to do, because one part of him was telling him one thing, that he is a Kshatriya. Kshatriya's job is to fight. The duty of the Kshatriya is to fight. See, we don't understand this here because in our society, we don't live like that. We have courts and laws and all these things, right? We do have an army, but essentially, army is also given instructions and they follow instructions. In that time, a Kshatriya's job was to fight. It was Kshatriya's job to uphold dharma. So the only person who could use himsa, who could use violence in order to bring about justice, and still that violence was right, was a Kshatriya. A Brahman couldn't do that. A Vaishya couldn't do that. Only a Kshatriya can do that. So he knew he's a Kshatriya and he's a warrior. His job is to withhold justice. So he knew that's what he wants to do. But on this is one side of his mind. The other side of the mind, he was a person. He was a human being who loved his grandfather and Drona and who had people that he loved. He was attached to them. He had to kill them. So I think what I'm trying to say is we have to understand, before we make a judgment on whether it is right or wrong, we have to understand what his state of mind was. And that it's completely natural. And if we were in that position, we'd do the same thing. We are not going to suddenly become great warriors and say to uphold dharma, I'm going to, kill my people and be suddenly brave. It's easier said than done. We truly can't fault Arjun. It's very hard to. I mean, that's what I think. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's the same.
It's the same, right?
Yes.
So, what this chapter is trying to get to you through a very dramatic illustration. This is a very dramatic illustration. All events in life are not this dramatic, not this sort of huge existential killing and not killing kind of a thing. But what this chapter is trying to tell you is that this is a problem of samsara, the world that we live in. We are constantly facing this issue in a small way or a big way. We have people who we love. We have things we love. We have developed attachment for. And we are being forced into situations where our mind tells us this is the right thing to do, this is my duty. But
Difficult to do.
But we are finding it difficult to do that duty because it affects either me or affects someone very close to me. So we get compromised in understanding what's the right thing to do. And not only that, what was happening with Arjun was he actually didn't, initially he thought he knew the right thing to do. He didn't even now know what is the right thing to do. Because ये नहीं है कि उसको पता था कि the right thing is to fight, but I'm too weak to fight. वो भी नहीं है. He actually started giving reasons for why not fighting is good. So himself, he had given the reasons earlier before the fighting started on why fighting is required. So he said, no, we must fight. They all said we'll fight. Now he's giving reasons why fighting is bad. And that happens to us too. If we fall in love with someone, we give all kinds of reasons for why it is the right thing to do. We never admit, I'm marrying someone because I fell in love. We'll say, oh, I'm marrying someone because of these reasons, so many good reasons. Or, if we have to, let's say, बंटवारा होना है family में, कुछ होना है, we will not say, ये इसलिए हो रहा है because I want, it's my ego. We'll give all kinds of reasons. No, that person is bad, he deserves it. So,
Or it's good for the family.
Or it's good for the family, right? Whatever it is, we find a reason. What happens is, this is a feature of samsara. We get into a situation, we are driven by our raga. We are driven by our attachments, by the weakness of our mind, literally. We're driven by that, but then we align our brains to say, oh, this is a good reason. Our brain creates a reason in order to support our decision. That's the second thing he's telling you.
So basically, we are just trying to justify
Yeah.
to ourselves
Hmm.
in giving those reasons that why what we are doing is right, or
Yes.
but the way we are thinking is right.
Yes,
We are
absolutely.
justifying that dilemma to ourselves.
We're justifying, whatever is our position at that
Absolutely.
time, we're justifying to ourselves.
Yeah, and we find reasons to say no.
Absolutely. We'll say
And
the same person.
Yeah, which could be actually from a very basic thing, like, like, for example, I'm going to start exercising tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you don't do it because you have found many reasons to say no.
Yes.
And then you
There are something else
justify
is
that
Justify.
more
to yourself.
important. I don't have time. All kinds
Yeah.
of things will come up.
So
Or my
rather than
legs are paining today,
accepting,
I'll start
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I'll start
yeah.
tomorrow.
So rather than accepting that, yes, this is a failure, and yes,
Right.
this is not the, rather than accepting it, we like to keep ourselves happy by telling us, giving us reasons.
Yes. We think we are keeping ourselves happy, but what
Yeah.
Gita tells us is we are not actually keeping ourselves happy. We are keeping ourselves very depressed. We are not facing up to our own sorrow. We are not facing up to our own pain. We are trying to shove that under the carpet. And that's not the way to address pain. But that comes later. So we are not getting into the answer mode right now. We'll start the answer mode from the solution mode from the next chapter, the next meeting. Today, we want to be in the problem mode. I want to understand what the problem really is. So, actually, what is the problem of samsara? What is it? Why is it that we are all gathered here wanting to, hoping to get something from the Gita? We are all in some way or the other. This is not just this group, everybody in humanity. We all are missing something. We all are feeling some pain somewhere in our life. And Bhagwan, I mean, Vedanta basically says there are three reasons or three things that comprise what's called Sharanagati. Sharanagati means a desire or approaching a teaching, approaching a teacher, approaching Vedanta, approaching Gita, and wanting some help. The first is a realization that I can't deal with all the problems of my life. We can't. We cannot deal with all the problems of our life because the problems are numerous. We are just a human being. We have we have limitations. We, howsoever bright we are, like we can be the best student, we can be the best uh, executive, we can be very successful, or we can be just an average person. The difference हमको बहुत लगता है, but in the large scheme of things, the difference is very minor. We are all humans, and the problems of this life, the problems of samsar means living in this world. The problems of this world are enormous. We are no match for it really. So we try and try and try. Initially, we think that we are going to overcome it, but at some stage we realize, you know what? I think I'm just stuck in a loop. you know, every time I think I've gotten on top of it, I come back to the same place. I'm running, running, running hard, but I'm standing in the same place and running hard. That's what happens. So there's a very interesting verse in the Mundaka Upanishad, which I love. Okay. The verse it says, Parikshay Lokan Karam Chittan Brahmana Nirvedam Ayat. So it says Parikshay Lokan Karam Chittan. Parikshay means having examined. Pariksha hoti hai na? Examination. So having examined Lokan Karam Chittan, that means the worlds made out of karma, having lived your life. And it's saying it's not that lived your life in this janam, having lived your life in multiple janams, having tried very hard, having said, okay, I think I know my problem. My problem is I don't have enough money. So I go get the money. Then you get the money and then suddenly you find nothing has changed. You say, no, no, no. My problem is I don't have a good relationship. So then I want to get a good relationship. Then you actually get a good relationship too. And again, nothing has changed. So you keep running. Then you say, my problem is health. Then you find a lot of healthy people who have the same problem. It's not like you can really look around you. You find, so having gone through these cycles repeatedly, a Brahmana, that means a wise person, arrives at nirvedam. That means a wise person arrives at dispassion. A wise person suddenly starts realizing, you know what? The solutions to this world are not going to be found in this world. I can't find these solutions by the normal ways in which I find solutions to other things on day-to-day jobs, day-to-day things. So that is first level understanding. The first point, we have to all got to understand that this feature of pain and sorrow is a feature of this world. It's not unique to me. It's not that I'm doing something wrong and something bad and I'm being specially suffering. We all think that the grass is greener on the other side, but the grass is pretty bad everywhere. Okay. I don't mean to be despondent. I'm just saying, if you really
It
think
may be
about it,
worse.
yes,
It may
there are
be worse.
pain is everywhere. Okay. And we can be in denial of it, but there's no point being in denial. So first thing is to understand and accept that there is pain everywhere. It is a feature of life, and I don't have the ability to solve it on my own. That's your first point. Only then you go to God, only then you go to Gita, only then you ask for help. The second thing is you have to actually ask for help. So remember, I told you in that Gita chapter, initially when Arjun started saying, "Maine ladai nahi karni, ye nahi karna, wo nahi karna," Krishna Bhagavan was quiet. And then Krishna Bhagavan also spoke a little bit. He was trying to just exhort him. "Nahi, nahi, it's not manly for you to do this. It's not the right thing. Please," he was exhorting him to fight, giving him, what's called motivational talk, okay, which we all give to our children also. Nahi, nahi, beta, padhai karo, ye karo, wo karo, right? It's all motivational talk. We don't realize it goes from one ear and comes out of the other. It's like nothing. It doesn't do much to anybody. So he was just giving that. But then in chapter 2, the first 7 verses which I read out to you, Arjun finally told Krishna. He said, "I am your Shishya." You remember? "I am your student. Teach me. I don't know what to do." That is the second point, second thing about Sharanagati. You say, "I am willing to learn." So you'll find a true teacher of Vedanta, for example, or a teacher of Gita, even today, will never teach you till you go to the teacher and say, "Teach me." And then also the teacher may not teach you because you have to be ready for it. Right? You should not just be saying, "Teach me," just ऊपर ऊपर से ऐसे बोल रहे हो. But you should have a real desire in your mind that I want to learn. And where does the desire come from? Through experience. By knowing that, I've tried everything else. Things are not working. So that's the second aspect. And the third is you have to find a teacher. You have to find a guru. So Arjun found a guru. Arjun found Krishna Bhagwan. But all of us have to find a guru. And the reason for that is because reading books will never give you the true teaching of any scripture like a Gita. See, what I have come to realize, because I've spent years studying it, what I've come to realize is that Gita is like a kunji, like a cheat sheet. So are all the other shastras, other texts. They're just pointers, little things that they say, words which can be construed and used anyway. If 3 people read the Gita for the first time, they will come away with 3 different meanings. 10 read the Gita, they will come up with 10 different meanings because they're just words. Words can be read, understood, misunderstood. This teaching has a lot to say over many months. You can't capture it in 700 short verses. In a thin book, you can't capture all that. So this is just a guide for the teacher. Because like now, if I have to explain to you what Vedanta is, for example, or Gita is. Now, what did I do in chapter 1 is you read chapter 1, but you're not going to get all the things that I'm telling you about what Sharanagati is. What does it mean? You're not going to get by reading the Gita. This only comes from someone who has learned. So you have to find a teacher, and you have to find a teacher who has, like they say, 2 main characteristics. One is that the teacher should have undergone the teaching himself, should have learned from somebody in the same way. So it's called a parampara. There's a parampara which continues down the line about Vedanta and Gita and all that. So a learned teacher, not a teacher who's self-taught, who's kind of, got some ideas of his own. That's not what you're looking for. What we're looking for is the actual teaching which is laid down over time. That's what you want, because people have all kinds of ideas. Aajkal there are a lot of gurus, who are who are morphing. They are saying, "Oh, Gita for corporates, for corporate life," or or Gita with special emphasis on Karam Yoga or something or the other. That's fine. I'm sure there's a lot of value there, but that's not what the scriptures will ask you to go for. The scriptures will ask you to go for a teacher who has understood this or gone through it himself or herself. And the second part of the teaching is that the teacher should be Brahma-niṣṭha. Brahma-niṣṭha means the teacher should have gone through this and understood the teaching, and should believe in the teaching, so that he or she can convey that to you properly. Because although it's the Shastra which holds all the knowledge, for you, the knowledge is going to come from the teacher. Till the time that you understood yourself, your teacher is your mouth of the Shastra. So that is why. So those are the three things for Sharanagati. And all these three things were available and present for Arjun. He reached an existential crisis which he could not resolve on his own. And he himself realized, because when Krishna Bhagavan told it's unmanly to fight, he realized, it struck him. Yeah, what am I doing? Pehle मैं कहता था fight, 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 fight. Now I'm saying giving reasons for not fighting. He realized it himself. He was a smart guy. He said, yeah, I am confused. He told Krishna Bhagavan, I'm totally confused. I really don't know what is right. And I can't sort it out for myself. He understood that. Then in all sincerity, he said, please teach me. I'm your Shishya. Teach me. And third, he had found the right guru. He found Krishna Bhagavan, a guru that he had trust in, he had faith in, he had confidence in, who was his friend, who he knew is not going to lead him astray. So all the three things were in place, and that's the idea of the first chapter. It's trying to tell you that these three things have to be in place for you to start learning. Okay? Is that clear? I mean, do you guys understand?
Yes, yes.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's very important for us. We need to have maturity before we can go to this teaching. And that maturity only comes by living life, by getting a few hits in life. जब थोड़े धक्के लगते हैं ना, तब maturity आती है. That's how maturity comes. Because other than जब तक धक्के नहीं लगते, we think we'll deal with everything. We'll handle it. मैं किसी से कम नहीं हूँ. I'm very good. ऐसे लगता है हमको. But then you realize that's not really quite true. So
So
one more
if you
thing.
actually,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry,
No,
I was
no.
just going to say, if you actually read Buddhism, and
Right.
if you actually, like they call Gautam Buddha the Shakyamuni. So the first thing, his enlightenment, what they talk about is this only, that the first thing that he understood was that, like what you said just now, that the first thing to be cognizant about and
Yes.
to acknowledge in one's life is that when you come as a human being, there is suffering.
Yes.
So suffering will always, always be there. Now why we need help is that, and to understand that we ourselves cannot, we need aids, we need guru, we need teachings, and we need how to navigate through this suffering. But suffering is not going to end. So the first thing, to accept it and believe it, that this is going to be there. So rather than running away from it, it is better to accept it and embrace it, and then look for ways to navigate through it. Now, this is what I recently read, and I thought that made a
Okay.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
All
and
they're all
yes,
saying the same thing. It's not that.
they're all saying the
Yeah.
same thing. Yes.
Essentially, in different ways, couching in different words, but
Yeah.
the human condition is the same everywhere. Whether you're a Christian or a Buddhist or a Hindu or whoever, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. We're talking about human condition here.
Yeah.
So one more thing I wanted to tell you before we end this is what is called the real problem of samsara. What is the real problem of samsara? Um, I mean, I'm just wondering whether we should cover this next time, or maybe we'll cover it next time, because it's going to take a while, and I don't want to get too late. It's very late in India, I know right now. So let's do this next time. I was hoping that we can cover chapter one in one class, but I knew that sometimes it takes two. So we'll just the first half of next session, we'll we'll finish the problem part of the Gita. Because we really do want to understand what is the problem we are trying to solve.
So,
Like,
I am in the flow of it. I'm willing to go on if
no, I
everybody else
understand,
is
but
too
I
much.
think it's better we come at it with fresh minds. So right now, what I think we should do is let's do a Q&A. Is there any question, any thought, any doubt in you guys' mind? We can spend a few minutes. Any question, anything. Let's just bring it up. Because I
No,
know,
I was just thinking,
yeah.
sorry,
No,
can
go
I
ahead.
talk?
Please.
I was just thinking that we all, if we reflect in our own lives,
Hmm.
right now, especially me, at this stage of my life, I feel like I've got everything. But yet, there is something missing which I cannot pinpoint exactly what is it.
Yeah.
There is a gap, there is a void which I cannot fill.
Yes.
But I'm searching for it, but I fail to understand what I want.
Yeah. Gita will help you. Gita is
That's
for
what I
people like us who have this thing.
Because if you all reflect in your own lives, I personally feel okay, you are happy, everything is fine, but there is a void which has to be filled.
You know,
There's some
what you
craving.
crave for, what you crave for in the beginning of life, you want enough money to live a nice life. But when you have that, there the problem starts with something else.
Now,
There
that's
is
what I
some
said, no?
other
Exactly.
problem in life
Yeah.
always
Hmm.
going on.
It
Right.
morphs. The
So
It's
problem
not
morphs.
money or this. It is when you feel you have everything, but there is a void. Now, what is that void?
yes,
I don't know. There is some emptiness within you.
because yes, at this stage of life, at the
Right.
beginning of life, you want more time. And
See,
now
that's
at this
past.
time, we have more time, but nothing to
Yeah.
do.
We
So
can reflect more. I don't know what is it.
What about the others? What other anything else? Seema, Gayatri, Sangeeta, any thoughts? The reason I'm asking is because a lot of people who you guys are all you're all Indians, you're familiar with the Gita. When I introduce Gita to a lot of people who are Westerners who are not very familiar, they have a lot of problems with the Gita. They say, like, I don't have a problem. Why are you trying to tell me I have a problem? Or, why is Gita telling someone to fight? I don't like this idea. It's promoting violence or anything like. I mean, any thoughts or any concerns in you guys' mind or any questions?
Maybe I feel that sometimes, sometimes maybe the why the Westerners react to it like that is also perhaps because there is acceptance that this is how it is and it's not a problem. It's all in the mind.
That's a
It's
good
in the
point.
mindset.
Yeah, they don't because you come to the conclusion that there is no solution. You
Exactly.
you
So they've
say
accepted it.
they've accepted it. This is how life is going to be. There is no solution. But actually, Indians don't do that. At least people who are familiar with the Gita don't do that
Yeah.
because we know that there is a solution. We've never gone that way. We know at the back of my mind. I knew always when I was young too that there is this thing called Vedanta and the scriptures. But I said, oh, बाद में करेंगे.
Hmm. Hmm.
अभी I have to make a living and move to America and my children have to grow up and all that. And then suddenly one day you realize, oh my God, life is short now. You keep pushing it back. How long can you push it back? Something
Yeah,
happens.
but, yeah, because that's what they say that the east of the east, they call India the east. This is the place where all the knowledge and everything. So we are carrying it with us.
Hmm.
And there is somewhere that intuitive sixth sense which tells us that we need not accept it and we can get guidance if we ask for it.
Okay.
And maybe with the Westerners perhaps it's different. they
Right. Right.
they are they're accepting it as a problem and they're saying, oh, we have to whatever, we have to live it. They will keep being miserable, but they will not look for a solution because they were never introduced to a fact that there could be a solution.
Correct. Correct.
Also, I think right from the time we are brought up, at least in my family, one thing that I heard right from childhood was कि ऐसी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती जिसका सोल्यूशन नहीं होता. तुम्हें अभी नहीं मिल रहा, that doesn't mean कि solution है नहीं. Keep looking.
Right. Yeah.
I remember hearing that as a child when I was 7-8 years old, and I hear it to this day when I'm 52.
Good God. Well, that you're a lucky person to have heard that.
I've heard that all my life. I've heard it from my mother. I heard it from my dadi. I heard it from my nani. And to this day also, whenever I'm faced with something, if I speak to my mom, she'll tell me कि solution अभी नहीं मिल रहा, that doesn't mean है नहीं.
Right.
So keep looking, keep talking. कहीं ना कहीं तो मिलेगा. ऐसे कोई problem नहीं है जिसका solution नहीं होता.
You know, that is so. I mean, as you're talking, I'm realizing I never thought about it like that. But to really come to the Gita and to really get its benefit, you have to be somewhere in your heart, you have to be an optimist. Because you know, the problems that we face in our life can be so extensive. They can be so difficult, so all-consuming that a person can fall into depression and say, you know, I can't deal with this. But and then you can say I think you were saying earlier that like a Westerner may say this is what it is. You know, there's nothing better. But we feel somewhere we feel that there is something better. There is an answer. So we are trying to find that answer, and we are not giving up till we find that answer. And then we are coming to Gita for that. That's a very optimistic. That's very nice. I mean, I'm glad to hear you guys say all this.
Maybe we have to train our minds, to accept the things as they are.
No, perhaps we have been conditioned since, like Gayatri also said, and I was also saying, we have been conditioned to grow up like this.
Yeah.
Those sanskars have been put in us.
Yes.
We have been
We're
told
lucky.
that it is there. There's something.
Yeah, we are
And
lucky.
yeah, and I also feel that is why perhaps Indians survive anywhere and do so well, frankly, in whichever countries they go, because they have this optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Chalo, good. So next time we will quickly finish the first chapter, because
Okay.
there is something called the wheel of samsara, the cycle of samsara. I want to introduce you to that, right? So that you understand the actual problem we are trying to solve. You know, a problem manifests in various different ways. किसी को एक तरह से आ रही है, किसी को एक तरह, but the source of the problem is all the same. So we'll get to that a little bit. And then we'll get into chapter 2. In fact, chapter 2 is the first chapter of the Gita, and it takes the longest because the whole of the summary of the Gita is there in chapter 2. So the way that all these scriptures work, even the Upanishads, is initially they give you a summary. Everything that they have to say, they say. And then they take each thing and go into detail down the line. So that's how, I mean, I've worked in consulting for a long time. So in consulting also, when we have to present to our clients, that's what we do. Because the clients say, tell me the gist first. So we have to kind of give them the big picture. Then they are senior executives. They don't have time to, then they might go into detail. They may not go into detail, depending on whether they're interested or what detail they're interested in. So the same thing is done by the Gita. So to understand chapter 2 properly will take a long time. And I will have to take diversions and explain some concepts to you. So for example, jiva, rebirth, all these things. It talks about it as if everything is, all very well understood and known. but we will have to kind of go back and learn all of these things afresh. So it might take a while. And then uske baad we'll go to depending on your interest, we'll move on to other chapters and so on. Okay? So all that next time.
Thank you.
No, thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank
It was
you.
very nice. I learn every time my teacher told me, she said the best way to learn is to teach. And I think that is so right. So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.